After waiting for days amid heavy monsoon showers, Thailand is finally holding the cremation ceremony for the late Thai King Bhumibol Adulyadej. Now, the mourners have lined up around the funeral site of the late Thai King. The 5-day funeral process began on Wednesday with a merit-making ceremony inside the Grand Palace, where the monarch's body had last been laid since his death a year ago. The mourners, clad in black, moved slowly as they went through security checks surrounding Bangkok's royal field. And these are live visuals we're getting for you from live from Bangkok in Thailand, where mourners are paying their last respects. The body of the late king has been taken to the crematorium where he will be buried. And the funeral ceremony, in fact, will reach its climax later today with the golden chariots carrying the royal urn, which will be carried to the ornate crematorium, especially built. In fact, it's being carried right now. It was built by artisans over last year. Around 250,000 people, remember, have lined up in the area of the crematorium complex to watch the late king's body being laid to final rest. Along with the black-clad mourners, were thronged Bangkok's historic quarter today. In fact, Bhumibol's son and heir King Maha are also there at the heart of the spectacular Golden Pavilion.
The Lotus Petal Royal Palanquin, carried by 16 bearers from the Quartermaster General Department of the Royal Thai Army, with 2 controllers of the palanquin coming from the Fine Arts Department and 1 army officer who controls the bearers.
Moving on, the latest from Catalonia. The Catalan Parliament is preparing for a crucial debate today on Article 155 and the prospect of independence from Spain. Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's government has threatened to implement measures to take direct control of the region on Friday if Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont does not back down from his demand for independence. Now, Puigdemont was expected to go to Madrid today to explain his position on independence from Spain, but no visit has been officially scheduled to the Spanish capital. Analysts indicate that he could formally declare independence for and in fact even call a snap election today or on Friday before the Senate strips him of his powers and impose direct rule from Madrid. The Spanish government has declared the referendum illegal, remember, and declined Puigdemont's call for dialogue, instead opting to take control of the Catalan region. Meanwhile, hundreds of demonstrators had gathered outside the headquarters of the government of Catalonia on Wednesday. This to show support for the possibility of Puigdemont declaring independence and protest against the imposition of Article 155 by Madrid. The protest, organized by education activists, rallied against the interference from the Spanish government in the Catalan education system. Activists said the application of Article 155 was an embarrassment and would, in fact, politicize education. And Kenya is set to hold a controversial repeat presidential election today as planned. Amid reports of unrest, Uhuru Kenyatta has urged Kenyans to vote and remain peaceful.
Thank you. This evening I speak to you not as President of this great republic. I say that after you vote, and I have said this before, please go home. Go back to your neighbor. Remember that in spite of their origin, your neighbor is your brother. Your neighbor is your sister. How you have voted, or for that matter, not voted, should not change the manner in which you relate to everyone else in our Kenyan family. Let us all maintain peace as we exercise our constitutional right to choose.
Meanwhile, opposition candidate Raila Odinga has called on his supporters to join him in boycotting the election, saying that he would lead a campaign of civil disobedience. He is refusing to participate in the contest because, he says, the Election Commission has failed to implement reforms to prevent it from being marred by irregularities.
Convince your friends, neighbors and everyone else not to participate. Instead, we advise Kenyans who value democracy and justice to hold vigilant prayers away from polling stations or just stay at home. We are aware that the bloodthirsty regime is planning to use every excuse to massacre our people. Let us deny them that chance.
Raila Odinga spoke shortly after the Supreme Court said it was unable to consider a last-minute appeal to delay the vote after 5 out of 7 judges failed to turn up. The Supreme Court ordered the repeat election after annulling an August 8th presidential election, which Odinga had lost. With the Supreme Court unable to hear petitions to delay the vote, the election officials said it would go ahead regardless of Odinga's decision. Supporters of Odinga welcomed his call to boycott today's repeat election, and Odinga's supporters marched through the stress of Kisumu after Kenya's Supreme Court's decision. Riot police used tear gas to disperse them in opposition stronghold. In a slum in Nairobi, protesters set fire to tyres as Odinga was addressing a rally in Uhuru Park, where he called for people to boycott the vote. Odinga, however, has backed away from previous promises to hold large-scale protests on election day.
Baba is fighting for us. He is fighting our rights for our grandfather that didn't get. So we want to get it now. So I don't think it's really fair for us to be denied our rights. That's why we cannot vote tomorrow. And as Baba just said, we need to be home, calm, and wait for the best.
Meanwhile, the United States has urged all Kenyans to remain calm, reject violence and uphold the principle of their constitution in elections. Spokesperson Heather Nauert, in a press statement, said, and I quote, "We are deeply concerned about the continuing efforts of both parties to interfere with and undermine the independent operation of the Electoral Commission, the judiciary and other essential institutions." She further said, now is a time for strife to divide Kenya. Pardon me, now is not the time for strife to divide Kenya. It is a time for all Kenyans to come together in accord. Five global airlines are going to begin new security screening procedures of all passengers travelling to the United States. Long-haul carriers Air France, Cathay Pacific, Egypt Air, Emirates and Lufthansa will start the screenings beginning today. A sixth carrier, Royal Jordanian, said it would begin the new procedures in mid-January next year after US authorities granted a delay in implementing the measures. The airlines offered different descriptions of how interviews would take place. And the new security measures come after the Trump administration previously rolled out a laptop ban and travel bans that have thrown the international travel industry into chaos. The new rules come at the end of a 120-day deadline for airlines to meet new US regulations. A little over 7 months to go into the 2018 World Cup in Russia, ISIS has issued a warning to the UN. The terror group has released an image of Lionel Messi carrying blood on social media. The chilling poster of Messi is being used in a campaign of terror by ISIS supporters to threaten next year's FIFA World Cup. The image was published by an unknown Islamic State mouthpiece in an attempt to spread fear among fans and players who are attending the mega event. The poster shows Messi being behind bars with an ISIS message. And the poster also used Nike's famous tagline, "Just do it," and turn it into "Just terrorism." There have been other instances of various pro-ISIS organizations and publishing different posters depicting danger at the World Cup. The 2018 World Cup will kick off in June next year. An explosion in Kiev on Wednesday killed a bodyguard and wounded 3 people, including Ukrainian lawmaker. Ukrainian officials described the incident as a deliberate attack. The member of the opposition Radical Party has been hospitalized but did not suffer life-threatening injuries. Interior Ministry advisors said that investigators were at the scene of the incident, where it appeared the motorcycle had been blown up near the entrance to a TV station. And there was no immediate word from the police on the possible suspects or a motive of the attacker. Under global scrutiny over its alleged ill-treatment of migrant labourers, Qatar is sent to introduce minimum wage for workers. Qatar news agency announced on Wednesday that the gas-rich emirate has signed bilateral agreements with 36 countries to provide legal protection for workers. The announcements came at the eve of an International Labour Organization meeting. Qatar's Labour and Social Affairs Minister said a minimum wage would aim to meet the necessary needs of the workers to live at an appropriate humanitarian level. Qatar has been widely criticized that a large number of workers are not paid, leading to hardships for the most vulnerable there. Former President George Bush has apologized after an actress accused him of sexually harassing her while he was in his wheelchair during a photo op that took place a few years ago. Actress Heather Lind made the allegations against the 93-year-old former president on Instagram. In a lengthy post, she said, and I quote, "When I got the chance to meet George H.W. Bush 4 years ago to promote a historical TV show I was working on, he sexually assaulted me while I was posing for a similar photo. He did not shake my hand, he touched me from behind from his wheelchair with his wife Barbara Bush by his side. He told me a dirty joke," end quote. In a statement, the former president apologized, saying that President Bush would never, under any circumstance, intentionally cause anyone distress, and he most sincerely apologizes if his attempt at humor offended Miss Lind. And Lind, in a deleted Instagram post, said it happened for a second time as well. She concluded her post using the hashtag that has become viral trend for people to share that allegations of sexual assault, and called Me Too. And staying with that hashtag, which Me Too has now reached the European Parliament on Wednesday. This when several members spoke about their experiences with sexual harassment during a debate over ways to combat the abuse of women. A German member of the European Parliament said she has been sexually harassed, just like millions of other people in the European Union. The open discussion of sexual harassment spread to Europe last week after allegations against popular names like Harvey Weinstein and Bill O'Reilly, and several lawmakers called for the ratification of the Istanbul Convention, which would require member states to adopt a legal framework to combat violence against women. They also called for the adoption of a resolution put forward during the debate, which will be voted upon today. Movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is in trouble again as another woman has come forward to publicly accuse him of rape. Actress Malte is also alleged that the disgraced filmmaker had raped her in a hotel room in London in 2008.
I opened the door, and his clothes were messy, and his face didn't look normal, and I thought, could he possibly be on drugs? He barged into my room. Then I remembered he took off his pants and sat on my bed. I was feeling panic, and I wondered what I should do. My mind was racing. What should I do? He was a very large man, and at the time I weighed 98 pounds. He began speaking about various A-list actors who he claimed had slept with him. He told me that these actresses had gotten to where they were because of him and because they had sex with him. He told me that every female Oscar winner had to thank him when they received their Oscars because he had made that possible.
At her second press conference in just 2 days, attorney Gloria Allred also introduced Malte, who is one of the least half of a dozen women who allegedly were sexually assaulted by Weinstein, citing large number of women, including some 50, claiming harassment. And she also urged Weinstein Company to set up an arbitrator overseeing settlement fund. A representative from Weinstein Company and the film mogul himself did not immediately respond to emails seeking comments about the new rape allegations. Weinstein was fired from the company he co-founded earlier this month after the New York Times reported an allegation of sexual assault by several actresses, including Ashley Judd and Angelina Jolie. In India's National Investigation Agency on Thursday morning raided the residence of terrorist Syed Salahuddin's son in Srinagar. Now, Salahuddin's son, Syed Shahid Yusuf, was arrested on Tuesday by NI in connection with terror funding case. Yusuf was sent to a 7-day custody by Delhi court on Wednesday. NI had sought Yusuf's custody to unravel criminal conspiracy and his links with banned terror outfits Hizb Mujahideen. NIA has in fact raided the residence of terrorist Syed Salahuddin's son in Srinagar. Now, allegations against him are that of links with terrorist outfit Hizb Mujahideen. He has been sent to a 7-day custody by a court in Delhi. New data from the World Travel and Tourism Council revealed that the world's top 10 fastest growing tourism cities are all in Asia, out of which the top 5 are in China. According to the report, Chongqing is the fastest growing city for tourism in the world, with a growth rate of 14% a year. And the study looks into the contributions of travel and tourism industry to the economy and job creation in 65 countries around the world. Indian capital New Delhi is among the top 10 cities, standing at 7th position with a 10.8% growth rate per year. The list also features Shanghai, Beijing, Manila, Kuala Lumpur and Jakarta. Data from the report shows that Shanghai and Beijing together account for 21% of all economic impact from travel and tourism in China.